The final type of lamp available to us within the lamp object is called area. And at first glance, it looks sort of like a point light. If I move it, you can see that it looks like a single point of light passing through our scene, similar to a light bulb. However, if I jump back into solid viewport shading, you can see that our icon, like the sun lamp, has a dotted line that represents the direction. Whereas a point light emits rays in all directions, the area lamp is limited in the direction that it emits its rays, specifically in the shape of a square. So you'll see that our settings over here are the same as a point light, except for one option above size called square. And if we click on that, we can choose either square or rectangle. And so for square, as I increase the size, you can see that the shape of our square area light simply increases. But if we change this to rectangle, we now have size X and Y, which we can change independently of one another. And so this lamp type becomes useful as like a panel of light. For example, a computer screen, TV screen, or any type of panel overhead lighting, like fluorescent panels, for example. And so whether we choose square or rectangle, that will slightly change how our shadows are cast. And so let's say if we were in a garage, for example, and imagine that our little objects were a car, we could use area lamps very quickly to set up that type of overhead panel lighting. So I'm going to hit Alt-R to zero out our rotations. And let's make this a little bit longer and skinnier. And then I can hit Shift-D to duplicate it, move it in the Y axis with the Y key. And then I'll open up my duplication options. I'll choose Linked so that both these lamps are sharing the same object data. And then I can hit Shift-R a couple times to repeat that operation. And now we have 5 lamp objects that are all controllable by one panel of settings. So let's see what that looks like rendered. Shift-Z in the viewport. Way too much light energy. Let's change the strength down to, let's say, 50. That looks a little bit better. And you can see we get different levels of shadowing due to the multiple lights, as well as the reflection in our shader gizmo object and our torus here lend themselves to that garage type appearance. And so that's one example of area lights. I think it's probably easiest to think of these as a panel of light. And do take note that if I scale our object here, you notice that as it goes up, you'll see our shadows soften. And as I scale down, the shadows get sharper. And this is separate from our size setting over here in the object data panel. And so you'll definitely want to be aware of that because it can get confusing with them offsetting one another. So my personal preference is to make sure my scale is always at 1. That way I only have to concentrate on the object data size setting.